Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Richard and James podcast. We have a guest on today. You might know him, you might not. We have got a guest on. Have we got a guest on?
Well, I was a bit confused because you said we got James on, and I thought, well, I am James, so
yeah. So we've got you on. So have we
hey,
got you on?
yeah, I think it's me.
Let's try and get to know you a little bit because obviously, some people don't know you because you scarpered from social media. So let's see if people remember you.
I'm James, and I sell on eBay, and I'm really good friends with a guy called Richard, who is a knight, and he has a good life. There you go. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in.
In all fairness, we've got a fantastic guest on today. It is James Boldfinds. I'm sure you already guessed that with the thumbnail, with the title. He has been on YouTube. His channel was originally created in December 2020. And I think in the new year, was when the first time I kind of really proper saw his videos. Since then, of him doing videos, he's had over 200k video views.
I know, he's doing 200k. Really he's doing really rubbish, isn't it?
200k. I was lucky if I had 20 views, right? So
I'm still lucky if I have 20 views.
The man is just smashing it. Now he has got an amazing video that has just blown, and I think it's at 157k views, which was where a lady was selling something that she shouldn't have been, and we might be able to ask him a bit about that video, but I won't say too much because if you haven't seen his channel, you want to check out the video because someone got told off. The whole boot sale could have been shut down.
Yep.
And then since then, he's just got a fountain of knowledge. He is what my mum would say, a breath of fresh air. He has a nice angle of looking at things. He has his own way of doing things. And that was one thing that he got across when you started watching his videos. He was like, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it my way. I'm just going to roll with it. He's got things like the coffee pod that he does, and he's had some fantastic guests on there.
I know all these resellers that started doing podcasts since we started doing this.
I know. We won't talk about this.
Let's not talk about it.
We're very sore. We get very sore. We get very sore about it.
Yeah, but you can see how bitter we are.
But without further ado, I want to bring on the legend himself, James Boldfinds, and welcome him to the podcast.
Hello,
James. How you doing,
guys?
mate?
I've never had an introduction like this before. So we've got the knight, we've got King James the First, and I guess I'm King James the Second now.
And I'm just
definitely.
I'm just the knight that guards you both.
That's it.
Exactly.
Thank you for the intro, and it's an absolute honor to be on the podcast because you two are like YouTube royalty when it comes to the pod. So you're part of the inspiration. I do mine. So thank you, and thanks for everyone who's going to watch. Hopefully, so thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone who's watching it right now.
Thanks for the 20 that are watching.
22, hopefully 22 at least.
Yeah, 22. Hey, if we get
up to 22 on this,
we get 22 thumbs up on this video, right? I'll do another podcast.
Oh, look at that! So you can't do.
And if we don't have another 22 thumbs up by the middle of next month, then it's your own faults. It's all the viewers' faults.
Or it's my fault. You can just blame me.
Yeah. No, I'm not blaming you. No, because that's easy. That's easy. Yeah, I blame James all the time. That's the beauty of being James. Just always blame James.
Yeah. That's it. Can't go wrong.
So, it's good to have you on.
Thank you.
We've been trying to get this podcast done for a little bit, and through one thing and another, it's taken us a little bit of time to get there. But
the day we were meant to do it. I'm never ill. I was ill for over a week. I just got back from my holiday. Yeah. And we drove back, and I must have had water at the caravan site, and obviously caravan site water. There you go. There's your answer. So it was the worst journey back. I drove back. We were in Scarborough, so Scarborough to Lancaster, so it's like coast to coast, side to side, and it was horrific weather. And then I didn't do any eBay for over a week to 2 weeks. And then I think it was the end of the holiday. And then the reason why I've not been able to do it for the last 2 weeks is Holly's just started school. But schools are fantastic. Well, schools are fantastic, aren't they? If anyone watching has got a child or thinking of having children or has already all the children. I'll just let you into a little secret. When your child starts school, they don't just start school. What they decide to do, which is really funny, is they go, oh, you know what I'm going to do? 9 till 11 for 5 or 6 days. Brilliant. Because that doesn't mess things up. No. And then they go, oh, you know what? They've done really well. We're going to do 11 till 1. Brilliant. And now this is the official week as of, well, thanks to Lizzie, it would have been Monday. Typical Lizzie. Absolute Lizzie. What's she doing? Absolute wind up. Absolute wind up she is. So selfish of her to decide to have a funeral. How dare she? But that's Lizzie. That's Lizzie's banter.
We love the Queen.
Oh, 100%. 100%. That's why I call her Lizzie. I have a lot of respect for the roles and she's just hilarious. Well, she's been there all my life.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. 70 odd years she's reigned.
She hasn't been there for.
She's reigned there for 70 years, and I'm 34. So it's pretty much twice my lifespan. So that's a reality, and that's ruling the country, being part of it, doing everything that she's done. So hats off, Her Majesty. I'll let you off.
I mean, what a week of it though. What 11 days or whatever. Like, it's just been, everything's been about it. And I've had friends that have gone up there and gone to see a line in state and all that. It's like, you know, what an incredible thing to do.
We won't talk about Good Morning Britain. We won't talk about what they did.
I was about to say, do you know Phil and Holly, who, you know, did they not skip the queue? We don't get political on this podcast.
Apparently not. Apparently not now. Apparently they didn't. Apparently they went through because they were doing the coverage of it or something.
It's like media or something. They got media.
Yeah, I'll have to remember that one.
But Beckham did queue. Beckham
did, and he bought everyone donuts. He queued for 12, 14 hours, and he literally ordered in donuts for everyone in the queue. So,
what a legend!
I wouldn't have thought everyone in the queue, but like the people he was stood with. But like, how mad would that be? It's like I said to my wife, like, it would have been nice to go up and see all that, and pay your respects. What a thing, because like you're never gonna get a check, especially with a queen. Never ever gonna happen again in our lifetimes. So what a thing to do, and it's just like, but I don't know. Obviously, I've been ill. I couldn't do it anyway. But what a thing you can say that you've done. I mean, there's people selling. Talking of eBay, there's people selling the wristbands on eBay for ridiculous money.
I saw a gold one.
Yeah,
I saw not an actual gold one, but a gold style one, and I think someone got about £2,700 for it.
Well, there's one on there.
It's gold colour.
There's one on there reckons it ended at 51,000 odd. There's a couple on there that reckon they've gone for 25 grand. It's not. It's obviously people fake bidding and shouting their items to try and bump up the prices of them. But like, you know, people are selling them on there. But
£2,000 ain't bad, and you think of how many people have been in that queue. We could have hired a load of people to stand in a queue for us. We would have been raking it in.
But that's the thing. That was the point. Was you know, people like Beckham, like, you stood in a queue and all of a sudden David Beckham queues up behind you, and that, like, what a thing. Or if you go into to see a line in state and flipping King Charles and all the princes and all that stood there round the coffin. How mad would that be for those people that have gone in there and done that? Do you know what I mean? It's something that's never ever going to happen again. You're never ever going to get that close to the king or the royalty again. It's mad. Or to Beckham. You know, most people never see it closer than where you ever stood in the stand when you was watching him playing football. But like being there next to him, talking to him in the queue like you're a normal.
Yeah, 13 hours.
I mean, I know it's a normal person, but flipping hell, he's a superstar. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it would have been good to be behind him or in front of him, talking to him for 13 hours. He'd probably be bored of you by the end, but you're in the queue now.
Yeah, but just think, like, of the old content for YouTube.
We're talking about content and talking about being in presence and superstars. Well, we've got one on, Richard. Let's hit away with our questions. And I'll let you start off with question one, which we've, as always, we're semi-prepared, so we've got a little bit of direction for you guys listening.
Have you got the Who Wants to Be the Millionaire music though? Because if we start with question one, I want to see question 15. Yeah, you know.
I can do all them sounds.
I've got some like
ITV. It's only ITV.
I haven't got them up at the minute. I've got flashing lights that do the old. But right, question number one is, what got you into reselling? How did it all start?
So I'm going to go into a lot more detail than I've probably done on my own channel, actually. So you've got another exclusive from someone, which is good. So let me tell you the whole journey. So I was working in recruitment for about 13 years. So in the last 5 years before I started reselling, I was working for a company recruiting for all of their staff. So it's about a 400-person company in Woking, so not far from where I live in Addlestone. But before then, let me go right back. So COVID happened and I was put on furlough by the company. So for 5 months, I was at a loose end, and I was speaking to people in the company who were saying, do you know what, you're having it right off here. 80% of your pay, you're not able to do the work. You must be loving life. And for anyone who, well, everyone went through lockdown one especially, but anyone who went through furlough would appreciate that it's not as glamorous as it seems.
It's really
waking up every morning, feeling useless, feeling like you've got no purpose in life, not knowing what you do, eating loads of rubbish, putting on loads of weight, like I think a lot of people, including myself, have done. Yeah, I can relate. But even before that, myself and the wife were actually going through a really crap time between us. And we were actually on a split for about a year before lockdown happened. Wow. And we had the house, had the mortgage, still living at home, sleeping in separate bedrooms. It was an absolute nightmare. But actually, COVID and the lockdown probably saved our marriage, because it made me as a person actually stop and slow down. So I was struggling with things such as anxiety and a lot of mental health stuff that I actually didn't realize at the time, because I was full steam ahead. And you know what? It doesn't matter. That will do. And COVID actually saved probably me as a person, but also importantly, our marriage, and made me actually reflect and say, do you know what, James, you need to just stop and get some help. So we done some marriage counselling together. And I don't want to go into all the background, but
but
long story short, we come out the other end and we are in the best possible place, and we are back together now. Things are great with us. We communicate a lot more. And then during the furlough period, it got to June time, and I got a message on a Thursday night from the manager of the company, who basically said, can we have a Zoom catch up tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock? And I knew at that moment what was going to happen. It was going to be redundancy. Yeah. So anyway, had the Zoom call, made me redundant. Credit to the company, they paid me out a really generous redundancy package, more so than I needed to. And so I had a bit of that money behind me. And I was speaking to Leanne at that point and said to her, look, where do I go? Because I have a passion for selling. I'd done a bit of eBay beforehand, selling my own stuff, and, really enjoyed that. I loved going to car boot sales as a hobby. And she said, well, look, you've got redundancy money behind you. Maybe it's the time now for you to try and do it and build something from there. And I was a bit like, well, do you know what? I've got my recruitment experience. I'm good at recruitment. I'm just going to go for another recruitment job. And I joined a new company. I took a couple of months off, but joined a new company. And within the second week of being there, I rung Leanne at lunchtime and said, I can't do it anymore. I hate it. I don't enjoy recruitment. And actually, it's making me feel unhappy again. And she was like, just leave. Do eBay full time. If it doesn't work out, you've got about 6 months of money behind you, which is going to pay our mortgage and bills. You've got 13 years of recruitment experience. Go back to another recruitment job, and that's it. You've tried it. At least you can always tick it off the list and say you've tried it. So I started officially on eBay full time. The 1st of January is when I started.
This year?
21. No, last year. 2021. Last year was the first time I started officially with eBay as a business seller on eBay. And I love it. Every day I wake up, I love what I do. I work from home down the garden shed, which you can see it's a bit messy, but it's helped me with my anxiety as well, in the sense of if I'm having a bad day where I wake up one morning and say, do you know what, I'm just not feeling great. There's no pressure for me to have to go in somewhere and put on a happy face. So I can kind of say, do you know what, go to the gym, take the morning off, watch a bit of TV, have a lie in, relax. And then if you feel better this afternoon, go and do some listings. But now what I do is create a draft bank to help me on them days where I'm feeling a bit rubbish and feeling like, you know what, I can list my drafts, everything else can wait. It's not important. So I love working for myself. But yeah, that's the journey of when I started reselling.
Yeah, so I'd like to be able to get a draft bank together myself, because like where I've just, for the last year, it's been so sporadic, my listing and that. that's what I want to concentrate on now, is obviously getting my listings regular every day, which I was going to start doing this week just gone, but then I got ill. I don't know whether it was a cold or a bug. My wife kept saying, "Oh, you better do a test. Like, test, it's not the baddie thing." Yeah. And like, obviously I get chest infections, it gets on my chest, and I'm asthmatic, so like it really knocks me for six. So this week I've really been on my back, so much so that for the first time ever I cancelled the Saturday Night Live last week. So this was supposed to be my week where I was really hitting it. And I know James has heard it all before. Oh, this week I'm doing this, I'm going to list all my electrics, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And this week was supposed to be it. So really, for things like where I've been ill, what you're doing with the draft bank, and I know James has done the same thing. We spoke briefly about it earlier, but he's got himself like stuff drafted up already, and that's what I need to do, so that on the days that it might be an illness, it might be that you have to go off and help family or do this or do that or do the other. It's so handy. It's so, I think for me, that's one of the most important things that I've got to concentrate on for my business, is building up a draft bank, because like same as you know, obviously everybody knows what happened and why I'm being crap on eBay. But like if ever I can't handle it one day, I can just go into the draft bank and list a few items, get a few items live. And that's really consistency I've got to do. But the draft bank for me is the most important thing that I want to get done. You know?
Definitely. Yeah, I think for me it takes that added stress away. You know, when you're going through things, you've got all these extra pressures and stress on your mind, and to able to just go onto eBay and quickly like post 10 drafts, and then you can kind of say, do you know what? I don't need to worry about eBay for the rest of the day. Yeah. You know, it just takes the pressure off for me. So that's why for me I do drafts.
I'm an anti-drafter. I don't really draft, but my business is slightly different to everyone else. I learned from everyone. I learned from the greats, the Nicks, the Georges, you know, everyone else. I learned how they did it. And then I started, it must be a James thing. I started January this year. So if you're a James, you have to start in January. That is the rule. January. So I started this year, and the one thing I've learned is that actually I'm better off running a business without any death pile. I buy, and whatever's there has to be listed. No, there's no ifs, there's no buts, there's no woulds, there's no coulds. It has to be listed before I then buy more, because I am not buying to buy, because then I've got money that isn't able to be looked at. Doesn't matter when it sells, but it does. But realistically, if it's not listed, it's not selling. And if I've put money into it, then I may as well just go down outside and chuck money on the floor, because I'm pretty much doing that. Now, I'm just saying that's my business motto. So if you're listening going, you're wrong, James, death pile, I need a death pile because when the boot sale seasons are closed, there's no other way to get stock. That's fine, Barry. That's fine. Don't worry about it. But the point is that there is actually ways of getting stock. And we might go into that later on in the conversation. But that's how it works for me. But the biggest thing I've got is that I have got a daughter who I do the school runs. I've got to drop her off by 20 to 9, and I've got to pick her up for 3 o'clock. So not seeing lots of stuff is one less distraction in the morning. And the reason why I did a draft bank today and why we talked about it was because my time management has massively improved by having my own business. And I went last night, right, I'm going to be chatting to the lads for about an hour and a half. I was like, obviously you guys are watching this, it's probably about 45 minutes to an hour's long podcast, but you've got to understand, we've got to test our mics, we've got to get our lighting right, we've got to chat to each other, and there's the wind down time. So I knew that there was 2 hours that I was going to be missing out my day. So what I did last night is I photoed loosely all the items that I'm listing today, priced them all, and I've got 13 items to 14 items pretty much priced up, titled up. All I need to do is do the proper photos and then come on the PC and then just neaten up them titles, you know all the title stuff, get rid of the big capitals, get rid of the gaps, make them look nice and pretty, and then they'll sell. So where you're like, I need a draft bank, Richard, and where you use it, James, it's interesting. I don't say anyone's wrong in doing that. Well, but for me, it doesn't work out, because I don't want a reason not to list. I have to list.
And the thing is, people's lives are different. So like, And it's not an excuse. I suppose some days it might feel like I'm using it as an excuse. You know, I lost my brother, and eBay for me just, well, doing anything for me just went out, and that was it. And you know, I suffered a bit of depression in the past, but this really sort of killed me. And you know, anxiety. I'd never ever had anxiety, and I used to not even want to go out the house. I was panic and anxiety attacks. Like it was horrible. And like I say, you know, that's my life at the minute, and I am getting back from it. But you know, James has got his daughter, and you know, James down the other James. I just getting confusing. James and James. You know, everybody's life's different, and everybody's eBay journey and eBay, the way they run their eBay is going to be different.
100%.
You know, that's the thing of it. Don't ever go, oh well, they're doing it like that, so I'm obviously doing it wrong, because that's not the case. You start working to someone else's regime, it's going to be totally wrong for you, and it's not going to work for you, and you're going to go, well, look, what's going on here? You know, you've got to do what's right for you, and you've got to fit that business into your life. And I say, for me, because I know I'm such a nightmare at the minute, and things are so sporadic, and I've got I'm still busy because I'm running kids about, and I'm taking Tank Boy to his cadets in the evenings, and I'm doing
that's his son, if you didn't know.
Yeah, and I'm pug sitting at the minute, like, which is just like, my life's just up in the air at the minute. So for me, a draft bank, if I can list my 5 a day to start with, and get some away in a draft bank as well for a rainy day, which I mean, you know, I'm wearing umbrellas out at the minute, but that's the thing. If I can do that, then I know I'm going to be all right, and I know my business is going to be all right.
100%.
I haven't been listing, and stuff started selling. I've started selling some good bits this week. So
and I think that's the joy of why we all do it. You all run your own business your own way. James is absolutely right. You know, you see loads of different things online about how people run their business, and people sort of delist, relist. Some people sell similar, some people do this. The joy of eBay, there's not just a one set way to do things, and you can kind of run it to what works for you. So it's quite interesting how even 3 of us here have 3 different ways of the way we do it.
Yep.
So it just goes to show that running your own business, and that's part of the joy of doing it and being your own boss. You can make your own decisions.
100%. I'm going to go on to question 3, because question 2 already got answered, which was kind of what made you go full time, which is going to be our next question. But what has been your biggest challenge going full time? Is question 2.
Yeah, I think for me, and it's still a challenge today, and it's been coming up to 2 years of reselling, is storage. Storage space has been my biggest challenge of going full time, because I think when we had this shed built, and the reason we had the shed built was we back onto the M25, and one of the trees in the wooded area actually fell and smashed through our old shed. And so luckily they paid out for a brand new shed for us. So we got the shed built, and this was going to be my eBay hub, as it were. And when I got the shed built, I straight away said, I've got so much space in here. I'm never going to fill this shed. I've got plenty of space. And as an everything seller, you go out and you buy VCRs, you go out and buy printers, you go out and buy X, Y, and Z. And you quickly realize that these storage crates behind can't hold many printers. And so you start finding other areas to store things. So yeah, my biggest challenge going full time is what I say to people is space. And so unless you go and purchase storage units, which is expensive.
I've done many a time, and it's the worst thing I ever did. Because the stock you got in there isn't worth anything at the end of it.
No.
Unless it's going to sell for it, money. You're losing the money.
Yeah, so that's been my challenge, sort of the storage space, and it's something I'm looking at. When we move house, we've already sort of said that we're going to get a Nick Hills kind of style extension on the house, where we're going to have a purpose-built area or even a converted garage to actually have more storage space. So I can actually have a proper photo set up, have somewhere where I can also do the YouTube stuff when I film in the shed and do the podcasts. So I think dedicated space is important, because you can go down the rabbit hole of going to a big yellow storage, spending a couple of £100 a week. And you think, oh, do you know what? I'll make that back on eBay. But you're right, Rich. You know, all your profit is then going into storage, which is the other issue.
I've done it. God, how many times have I done it? I've probably done it 3 or 4 times going into.
I think we're on 3, 4 times.
It's like, and it is, and you go, you know, I used to. The only good thing is when I had the storage unit, obviously I was going out of the house. So like when it's all at home, if you're not motivated, then that's it. You're absolutely screwed. You know, I had so much stuff. It's all going back to death piles. I had stuff in here, and literally, James has seen it. Like I had a little alleyway there, spilt Coca-Cola one night on the floor. It ran like a river.
I've never mentioned it. I never mentioned it.
I had about that much gap to get through the stuff, and it was stacked to the ceiling. Now, because I've been doing car boots and like the stuff that doesn't sell at a car boots, I've been taking straight to charity shops on the way. And I've literally got so much. I'm nearly back to a full open shed. I've even got a bit of room in next door in the storage bit. So because I've sold a lot of the big lumpy items that I've got. So yeah, storage units are, you know, I know some people that are doing YouTube and doing reselling that have just taken on storage units and stuff. And you know, if that works for them, that's fine. Like I say, if you've got a quick turnover of stock, then it's all good. But like the stuff I had was anything and everything, and I was just bunging it in there on the pile. And when I just say this to James, like, you know, he say, well, you know, you've got to get listing, and I say, but I'm looking at it, and I've got so much stuff, I don't know where to start with it, James.
Yeah,
and that's
it gets overwhelming.
Yeah, and the thing that I find easy, and James knows that I actually do this, when I do go out and buy stock, I'll bring it back, and I 99% of the time I get it photographed and listed straight away, and that to me is an easy thing. So where he's saying about not having the death pile, I mean, I suppose I've got a bit of a death pile, but really it's just stock, a bit of stock that I need to list, but it's not, I wouldn't call it a death pile anymore. And I feel so much better. And you know, when things overwhelm you and you get like anxiety and you get things that get you down, I just used to look at this every day and go, I've got so much stuff, thousands of pounds sitting here, and I don't even know where to start with it. And then I started with the big expensive stuff that I thought was, I had an Epson, big massive office Epson printer here in front of me, and I used to look at it every day, and it was there for about 2 years, and I stuck it on and it sold straight away, got some good money.
Always does.
There was a halogen cooker on top of that, and I listed it, and it went straight away for good money. All the stuff that was stacked there was all big money, and I literally listed it and got rid of it. You know, it's like all this stuff in the background. Yeah, it looks great, it looks fabulous, but I'm hoping not to be in here forever. You know, this is my shed down the garden. I've got summer house, and I'm hoping, like my stepdaughter was talking about moving out in the next year. She moves out, I'm going to go into the converted garage, which was her room. I'm going to make that my YouTube room. I'm going to have just the stock just in the bit next door and the shed I've got at the back. And then this is just going to turn back into the garden summer house. So, I mean, but I don't mean storage units. I will never.
I did consider it.
About my business plan, I will never, ever have another storage unit.
Yeah, I did consider it.
Yeah, once again, it's horses for courses. You know,
100%
might benefit from that. They might have so much stuff and so much good value stuff. If I had like, you know, I don't know, £100 DVD or £200 DVD VHS players, and I had 50 or 100 of them, then I'd stick them in a little storage unit.
What I would say, if you're listening to this and you're getting angry about people saying not to have storage units, I get it, by the way, Barry, because I know Barry's listening. 1 second, I know Barry's listening, so I've just got to let him know. Barry, I understand that you've got a flat and that you have no room. I get that, mate, and you have to have it and you have no alternatives. Don't worry, all the Barrys that are listening and getting angry, we get it, that sometimes all you've got is a room in a family home, i.e. you've just left you've split up, you can only afford a house share, you need a storage unit. I get that some of you are going, I have to have a storage unit because when I'm at home, I don't work. And when I'm away from home, I go in work mode. I get that. All we're saying is it doesn't work for both of us, and it's dead money. So it's very important that when you're listening to this, is that you take what you can from it, because it's so important. Because sometimes this is what I've done wrong. I've gone, but they're successful and they're full time, so therefore their strategy must be right. Remember, it's right for them. And what's right for them doesn't mean it's right for you. And that's the one thing I will always repeat whilst we're doing this podcast, is that this advice is going to work. It is sound advice, but it works because of everything else that we do. And I think a prime example of that is a lot of people that when I first started doing YouTube and when I got into reselling, they were buying everything that Nick Hills was. And then they went to me, or how have you gone full time? Because I went full time and I had to stop after 3 months, so it didn't work for me. And the reality is that Nick Hills isn't just an eBay reseller. He has a YouTube channel with a big following that buy 40% of his stock. So therefore, the stock he buys is designed for his lifestyle and his audience. Therefore, if you just sell that on its own, it's not going to be a feasible business. So you can't just do one part of someone's business. You have to do all the parts of their business. Exactly. So if you've got someone who's if you watch John and go, oh, I pick up what John does and I'm not full time, but John has a vinyl shop, John has red brick, John has multiple sources, he has a taxi company. So that's the reality that you have to do. You can't just be one part of someone's business. You have to be all the parts.
You can't replicate other people's business. And the reason I'm saying about I would never get a storage unit again is because I know the money that got wasted. Every week I paid for that unit. Every month I paid for that unit was making that stock worth less and less. And the only reason I'm saying this on here is so that people watching this podcast, I'm trying to save them money because I know the mistakes I've made. You know, if you're not in a position to do it, or you haven't got stock that's got a really fast turnover, that's going to bring you that money back in, and that couple of £100 a month on the storage unit isn't even going to make a dent in it, then that is brilliant. If I was in that position and I did need big stuff, and I was, I had stuff sat in there that was going to earn me, I don't know, say £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 a month, you're not going to miss that £200 a month.
No.
And all day long, don't get me wrong, if my business model changes and the stuff in there is earning me £5,000 a month, I'm not going to be worried about paying £200 a month. But on my business, where I was just building it up again, like, it was just the worst thing that I ever did, because it was £200 a month, which I didn't have, and it wasn't coming in. And to say that by the end of it, the stock wasn't worth anything.
Yeah, so, I completely agree. I think agree with you both. Every business is different. You know, I think if I was getting to a stage where I know I can take my business to a next level, and as you say, Rich, go from say 3,000 profit to 10,000 profit by spending £400 on the storage unit, everyone would do it. You would do it. Yeah. But right now, where my business is, I can't justify that outgoing. I mean, we're like the reselling Martin Lewis's today, aren't we? Telling people what to do with their money and stuff. So good advice, but don't take it
definitely
for it. You know,
definitely. And I think it's
trusses.
Yeah,
it's just very important at the end of the day that, you know, that especially when you're doing something on this platform as well, that we also put a disclaimer at the end of a sentence to a degree. And that's why I always try and reintroduce that and re-say that, because when people listen to stuff, we are all doing this full time. We are all not working for someone. You know, I know Richard's been doing a bit of part-time, but that's just to top up a couple of things. So the reality is whatever happens is sound advice. But the biggest disclaimer that I don't think I ever hear any YouTuber say, or anyone who tells people how to do reselling, is, but you have to do all that lifestyle for it to work.
Yes.
And I think people go, oh, I bought this and this has made me £50 and this, that, and the other. And that's true. It's all true. But it's how did you do with the return? How did you do with packaging it? What did you do when it got there? It was partially damaged. How did you do with that? There's lots of parts of the journey that sadly, it's not exciting for YouTube, and it doesn't make good content. So we don't see that. And that's the reality. When you go full time, you start going,
it might have sold £50, but actually, or after all the fees, after the postage costs, and after all the packaging materials, I've actually only made about £36 on it, and it's £12 to buy. So you start thinking, oh, it's not that good of a sale. So yeah, I agree. I think the transparency thing, and that's what I'm trying to do on my channel, is be really 100%. Transparent. When I do updates on the audio CDs, and that video should be coming out probably this week or next, it's going to be the full breakdown. Not, you know, these audio CDs sold for £400. I've made that much profit because it didn't cost me anything. It's after fees, after promotions, this is what it's made me.
But you were very honest about that anyway, I felt, James, with regardless to the sales, because you yellow posted noted it all, and you kind of said, look, this is all going to go as bundles. These are worth individual, or these are going to go as a group. So we actually had a real look of it, rather than going, right, I've been given this from a family member, or was it a family member or friend or whatever it was. And then you were like, oh, and this is going to make me £1 million. And tune in next week to see how rich I am.
But it can be like that sometimes watching videos. And I'm not throwing shade at other channels because, you know, I understand you have to do things to get views sometimes.
Of course you do.
But sometimes all you see on YouTube is the glamorous side. You don't see the blood and sweat where you're spending 4 hours sorting out a box trying to find an item that you've lost, you haven't skewed right, you know. So I think it's all about the transparency. And anyone who's thinking about doing it full-time or part-time, you're right, James, you need to look at the full journey and what goes into that. Because not many YouTubers talk about, do you know what, I stood in the field at 4:30 in the morning to find out one item that's going to make me £20 profit. You know, you miss all that part.
You just got to be honest, you know. Don't start getting, you know, if you do get into YouTube and reselling that, you know, don't start telling porkies about things because you'll get caught out. You know, I'm totally honest about everything I do. Perhaps sometimes I'm even too honest.
Put it this way, we can all go in your store and we can all look at the solds.
You know what I mean?
And let's be fair, there's been a fair few people that got caught out. There's not just one person on YouTube called Porky. Let me tell you that. Yeah, well, I also know that of other resellers, we talk to each other, and sometimes if you're giving advice and some people ask for advice, but then you go for someone else for advice, make sure you thank them as well. And they know who they are, by the way, when I just said that. So, I won't say no.
Disclaimer, it's not slander.
Not at all. And if you feel if you're watching this and you're thinking, is he talking about me? Then I'm talking about you. So yeah, and the reality is that we're not saying not to be yourself, but don't hype up the truth, and also just be transparent. But I will say, as a massive disclaimer, pretty much 99% of YouTubers are all on the money, and they're all fantastic, and they all do the content in their ways. They do the videos in their way, and it's fantastic to see. I also think there's so many hidden gems that are on Instagram that just the people on Instagram alone are probably, if not better than half the YouTubers. They're just fantastic out there because they give contents on there. If you've got a question, unlike YouTube where you have to wait for that reply, it's within that day. And then also, I'm not on the platform, but I hear yet again other good things is TikTok. There's people on different channels that will offer different advice. So, you know, whoever you're learning from, learn from them. That's absolutely fine. But also remember, try and make sure that you know about the whole journey, and try and make sure that you're aware of the pros, the cons, the ins and outs, the 4 o'clock wake up, how they got there, why did they end up having that item, and they made £20 all that day and it cost them £15 in fuel.
And that's the thing, you know, listen to people, but don't take what anybody says for gospel. You know, it's like I say, you know, I've been probably too honest about a lot of stuff on my channel, but that's me. But it's, you know, not everyone's honest. So like if they're saying something, you know, go into it, look into it for yourself, and just make sure that it's right. You know, ask someone, ask a couple of people.
So my next question for you, James, is a double-ended question.
Yeah, this is great.
So, well, it's all right. I'll come into it, and we'll do. I'm going to double end it, and then you can come into the next one. So,
no, don't talk to me about double enders.
What is this podcast I've joined here? Hold on.
Yeah, I know.
Listen, if you guys are absolute filth. That's all I'm saying. I'm here trying to ask a 2-part question, and you guys are thinking. And you guys are talking about lightsabers. See what I did there? See what I did? I've got you both. So, first question is, and then as I said, you're going to have a knock-on effect with this question. So your YouTube is doing amazing at the moment, and we've got to say, like, hats off to you, mate. Like, you've come, you've saw, you've conquered, you've done it your way. I suppose there's people probably watching this that are part of Richard's channel that maybe don't know about you. So the first part of the question is, what's your USP? What makes your YouTube channel, and what's your unique selling point, if people don't know what USP means? And the other question is, at the moment, obviously, you've been doing well, but what's your long-term plans? So obviously, you've created your channel. You're here. James is here, and you're here. But what's your long-term plans? So I suppose USP, tell us a bit about what makes your channel you. And then also, the people that are now hitting that subscribe button, what can they expect from your channel going long term?
Sure. So USP was really important to me, and when I started my channel, I put off doing YouTube for probably for about 6 months. I was getting encouragement from people to say, do you know what, you should do a YouTube channel. And my initial response, and my brother was really forcing me to do it, and I said to him, I haven't got time. I haven't got time to edit. I haven't got time to put out content. And he was saying to me, well, just film what you do, film your day-to-day life. And that's what I kind of do on my channel, where I try and be as transparent as possible. As I say, when I talk about items I pick up, I talk about actually, you know, this will sell for this amount of money, but after all the fees, after the coupons have been used, after the 7% promotion I run on it, actually, I'm not going to make anywhere near that. And then you've also got the tax aspect on top as well. I think a lot of people will say I sold this Lego figure for £20 and there's my profit. But as I say, after all the fees have come out and after you pay the tax man as well, you're not actually making anywhere near the kind of profit you're looking for. So how I'm trying to run my channel is you need to do the normal stuff such as the boot sale videos. But I try and do the podcasts. I do a picking video. I try and do some eBay tips and tricks for beginners. So I knew when I first started on eBay, I thought you pick up an item, you find the item, you sell similar, you share all the same stuff they've got in, you list it at a good price and it will sell. But there's a lot more that can go into it that can help you bump up yourself in the eBay search. So I try and share information for people who might be new, who might want to start eBay and just don't know where to start. So I try and offer value to a lot of people, a lot of different people who have experience and people who don't. But I never claim to be an expert on eBay. I'm not an expert on eBay. And part of the reason I'm in a daily refinement group, which we'll probably talk about later on, is because I learn from people who are real experts. And I'm always looking to learn as well. So yeah, to answer the question simply, USP for me is about transparency. And I always will be that on the channel. If I've gone to a car boot sale and it's been rubbish, I will talk about that. I will say, do you know what? It was rubbish. And I found I picked up stuff for the sake of picking it up. And that's not the right thing to do. You know, sometimes you have to go to the car boot sale and accept you brought one item and it's not great. It's a bit of a waste of time, but you need to put yourself out there to go and find that one item anyway. So yeah, for me, transparency. I've watched hours and hours and hours of YouTube videos of people showing what they pick up. And that's how I learned how to do eBay. That's how I learned how to do reselling. But the gap I think I found in the market is that transparency and saying, do you know what? I've had a crap week on eBay. And that's the truth. You know, there's not much more I can say about it, kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I aim to do. I'm always
honest, and I've had a crap week on eBay. But going
so
back
you need to do a video saying you've had a good week.
That'd be a bit of a novelty. But the thing is, like going back to the one thing from the car boot sale, I did that a couple of weeks ago. I did a bit of a video. It wasn't a very long video, and someone went, "Oh, you was just walking about. You didn't really show anything." And it's like,
that's the truth.
I couldn't really show anything because I said, look, I filmed what I could, but I literally picked up one thing. I picked up a VHS DVD player. It had only been used once or twice. Thing's immaculate. I picked up 2 weeks ago at Huntston up near me in Chichester. And I said on the video, you know, or on it was either on the video or on the live. I said, you know, it goes to show how out of practice I am and how long I haven't bought from car boot sales, because I didn't even try and banter, knock them down. But you know, they said, "Oh, it's 20 quid." So I thought, I said, "I'll have a walk around and I'll have a think." And I looked at the thing, and it was like, "Oh, one's gone for 100, or a couple have gone for 150, one's gone for 250." I thought, I'll go back and get it. By the time I got there, I've gone, "Oh yeah, I'll take that," and give them the 20 quid. Whereas I probably should have gone, "Will you take 15?" Yeah. So like it just goes to show how if you don't do something for a while, even something simple like a car boot sale, like it just goes out your head, and you've got to get back into that sort of thing. You know, it's all about making as much money as you can. Lucky enough, that thing that I bought 2 weeks ago, which was just one item, I've sold now. It's just gone this week for 200 quid. So although
but it's a transparency, Rich, as well. You know, you didn't have to show people that. You could have easily either took that video down or not show the video and said, "Sorry, I didn't go to the car boot sale on Saturday or Sunday." But instead, you're showing people this is reality. This is real life.
Yeah, I just wouldn't have put it up, and no one would have known about it. But I literally put it up. You can see me walking about. I'm going, "Oh, there's not much here." I'm going, "Oh, I've picked one thing up. I've literally picked one thing up." And I think I went on to Ford after that. and I picked up a little Kinder Man for £1. And I think I picked up one other thing which I can't remember, but literally that was it. It was pants. But I did the video on it and I showed it because it's not every day is not a great day at the boot sale. You don't pick up amazing stuff all the time. Some days you do get them bits. You know, it turned out to be an amazing thing with the one thing that I picked up from Huntston, because that was a 20 into 200 quid. So 10 times your money is always good. You know, I've still got the little Kinder Man. He's up there. You can just about see his legs. And you know, it was a rubbish day at the boot sale, but that was it's an honest thing of that day at the boot sale. It was rubbish, and I thought it's best to show that, because you don't want everyone going out looking at these videos going, oh wow, look at the stuff they picked up. Wow, every time they go out they pick up this. They've never had a bad day at the boot sale. I'm going to do this, and it's not real life. That's not real life. That's the one thing, and that's why probably I don't get as many subscribers or whatever as every other people. You know, my channel's not just about being a reseller. It's Knight's life, so it's about everything. It can be anything and everything. But like, I show the good as well as the bad. You know, I show the good, I show the bad. If it's rubbish, I'm going to tell you it's rubbish. You know, if I'm having a crap day, I'll tell you I'm having a crap day. And like James, you know, James Boldfinds said, you know, it is the only way to do it is be honest about it. You know, and James, you know, my mate James as well, is exactly the same. He's always honest about what he does. You know, he's said to everyone, right, that's it. I'm knocking social media on the head and concentrating on my business. He's doing it, and it's working.
Yeah.
You know, be honest. Be honest.
I think don't say it and then come back a couple of weeks later and all this. Like don't say something for a sob story. Say it for the right reasons. Like back yourself and be true to yourself. You know, there's the only person who's ever going to have you back is yourself.
Yeah.
And if you can't trust yourself, then in all fairness, and if you're listening to this as reselling, then it isn't the right job for you at the moment until you get that confidence back. You gotta back yourself. You know, and if you're at that boot sale and you pick something up and it doesn't work and it doesn't sell, it doesn't mean you're bad. You know, you can look at it as a positive, look at it as a glass half full. I picked this up today, I paid £10. Actually, it sells for £5. But it's the benefit that you've learned that it sells for £5. You've learned not to pick it up. And you know what? You are going to sell it. You're going to photo it. You're going to put a good description on there. And why not challenge yourself? It's worth £5. See if you can sell it for £7. And then you've made a less of a loss. Make it into a positive. You know, it's about turning the bad into good, and that's why for me a death pile is a bad thing for me, because I get distracted with ADHD and I don't know where I am. Where if I have no other options but what's out on that table and that has to be list, the joy I get is I can choose the easy stuff one day when I'm wanting an easy day, and I can choose the harder stuff on and what normally tends to happen is Friday comes and it's all the difficult stuff, and I'm like, God, I should have done this earlier in the week. I should have really, but that feeling on a Friday after I've cleaned them shoes or I've tested the electronics, whatever the difficult thing be that week, it's like, and then the best thing is you all know it. You do the harder thing and it blooming sells the next day, and that's 200 quid back, and you're like, why the hell did I put that off? And but it is what it is, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with being human. So I've got to say, James, I definitely as a viewer, and I'm not just saying it because you're here, because if I thought you're rubbish, I'd tell you, mate, and I don't. I think you're amazing.
I'd rather people do. That's the thing about my channel. I'd rather people say your content's a load of crap. Yeah. But
I really, really love your honesty, and that's why I warmed to your channel initially when you did your intro. You said, look, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do these videos this way. And I was like, you know what? I like this kid. But I already messaged you anyway. And I was kind of a fan of you on Instagram because of Mel. Mel had you back, and Mel was like, yeah, you know, like he's like, chat to James. So we know about your honesty, and that's one thing that I definitely would agree is your USP. But one thing I want to kind of know is that where do you see the channel going in the future? Are you going to see? Is it going to be like always a platform that you're going to log your journey? Is there anything fun that we're looking forward to? Is there? I suppose, is it going to become another revenue? Is that what you see YouTube as eventually, or you know, where in 10 years, I suppose, if I could click my fingers, in 10 years here with YouTube and 10 years of eBay, don't want to know about eBay just yet, but just YouTube alone, where do you want the future to be? All going well, obviously.
Sure. So when I started the channel, and I think most people say this, I honestly felt I would get my family subscribe, because straight away they subscribe and they kind of do it as a favor for you. They don't watch your videos most of the time. I mean, some do now, but most of them who subscribed at the start do it out of sympathy, because they're like, oh, you know, James is going to struggle here. And I honestly had a plan in my head to get to monetization in a year. So I said to myself, do you know what? If I can be on YouTube a year and hit the monetization, so the 1,000 subscribers and the 4,000 watch hours in a year, I would be absolutely over the moon. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. And because it's grown so quickly now, I look at YouTube in a different way. I kind of look at it to say, can it become that passive income in the future? Because what I would like to be able to do is to use YouTube to pay for the bills, to pay the mortgage, to pay the bills, and then to be able to reinvest more money into eBay. Because at the moment, like I'm sure we all do, you kind of earn money on eBay, but you have to take some of that money out of your business to pay for your bills and your mortgage and your lifestyle. And the rest of the money that gets invested into more stock to keep building the eBay business. And how I like to see it, probably in the next sort of 2 or 5 years or so, to be able to get to a stage of where YouTube comfortably pays for my world outside of eBay. And then eBay money gets invested into eBay to help grow the business, because eBay is my priority and it always will be. But I'm just enjoying the journey of sharing what I do. And I feel that actually it takes a bit of time to edit, but to just turn the camera on and just film sometimes what I'm doing anyway, for me, it doesn't feel like it's that hindrance and it's that stress. But with regards to exciting things, I've got lots of ideas for the channel, but it's kind of trying to get it right and at the right time. But at the moment, I'm still learning YouTube. I don't know the ins and outs of YouTube. The video that went viral, I'm still getting my head around why it went viral, because I've had other people message me, and not in a nasty way, but in an advice way, saying this YouTube video's got no tags on it. And I said to them, how do you put tags on YouTube videos? You know, I don't know how to do it. So again, it's learning YouTube, it's learning the platform. And at the moment, I'm just having a good time doing it. I'm just enjoying it. And if people want to watch the videos, great. I get lots of good comments. I get a few negative ones, which is fine. That's the YouTube life. But you know, if people want to watch, great. And as I say, I'm just myself. I don't try and be a personality on YouTube. I don't try and, you know, do a funny dance at the end of my videos, because it probably make people unsubscribe. But, you know, I just want to show people what I do and be transparent while doing it. So, yeah, to answer your question, long term, I want it to be a passive income. But right now, it's a hobby and it's fun.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
See, I said to James, if I could, I want to try and get my YouTube channel where it is paying the bills and that, because like I love social media. You know, James is not keen on it. I love social media. So if I could get that earning my wages, I'd still be doing the reselling. I'd still be doing the eBaying, but I would be looking for the bigger value stuff, the gems, the stuff that I've got to pay maybe 300, 400, 500 quid for. It's going to make me 4, 5, 6,000. Do you know what I mean? That's where I'd like to get to. But like, I do love my social media. I'd love to get the channel, you know, pumping. But I have like same as the reselling, where I've been ill this week and that, and like where my head's not been with it. There's no point in putting stuff out, because when I do a video, when I do a live, you know, sometimes when we've gone to do lives and I've gone on beforehand and like my face looks like a smacked ass, and I'm saying to James, I'm feeling really down today, mate. I don't know how it's going to go, but like, you know, hopefully it'll be all right. And like, because I don't want to let people down. I always say, like, that's why I felt really bad about last Saturday, because, you know, if there's one person that sat there and ain't got no friends, no family, and all they want to do is see your live on that Saturday night, you know, obviously watching other things as well, not just waiting for me, but like, you know, I don't like to think of that person sitting there going, oh no, not the live's not on tonight, you know, because I think my mum's one of them people, you know, she sits there and she looks forward to the lives and getting involved and saying hello to everybody. I think it's a nice ring for her, because she doesn't really go out or do anything. So the lives and that are nice for her. But yeah, I would love it if the channel sort of did take off, because it's all about my channel's all positive and it's all about helping other people and just giving, really. And that makes me happy. But sometimes I've gone on, like I say, and I've been so down and the mood's just been so low, but as soon as I click that live, and it's like, not I'm going on and being false, as soon as I click that live, I say hello to everyone, start talking to everyone, it's like therapy for me. I'm on a
Makes you feel
different,
better.
I'm on a different plane. It just like, you know, but there's no point in going on if you're feeling really fed up and then putting a front on, because people will see through it.
Yeah,
you know, I never put a front on. I never put a front on, and like I say, you know, it's going back to the honesty thing. It's all about that. But yeah, I do love the lives, and I love the social media, and I love making videos. But it's just the same as the eBay. I've just got to start getting consistent with it. You know, and it's life, and it's everything that's going on around me that's sort of getting in the way at the minute. But it'll all be good. It'll all be good. But yeah, you like myself. I do like social media. Whereas, I mean, James was carrying on doing Instagram for a bit, weren't you? You're still carrying on with Instagram, but then you're just all about the business, and like, I haven't even.
I definitely love social media. I have no negatives towards it. It was a distraction.
Yeah.
And I had to look at the logic of, right, I'm in a situation where I've got set amount of hours, and is that a positive or is it a negative? And social media was more of a negative because it was very distracting with someone who, especially myself with ADHD, my mind is different to a logical thinker. It's like I'm like Homer Simpson when he goes, "Ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy." That's my head constantly. So, you know, sometimes when I'm talking to someone, I don't mean to be rude. It's just my mind is always thinking about the next, but probably not even that next. It's thinking about the next.
Yeah.
So I jump all over the spot, and I'm sure if you're listening to this, you know, you've obviously seen me do a live before, so I'm very sporadic. But then I've got to then, as a business owner, I've got to reflect on myself, and I've got to go, well, is this working? Is it not working? If I'm being 100% transparent, I definitely feel like I would love to come back to YouTube at some point, but it has to be at the point where I'm strong enough with my foundations in my business where it's not going to be a problem. The other thing I feel, especially after I've done this year, not that I've ever felt myself as a charlatan or false, because I'm 2 years into doing reselling, especially doing it full time, but I felt like, would I trust my own advice, as I haven't actually done a full year reselling and I've got to do at least a year? Then I've got something to reflect from. And then when Malcolm goes, "You don't know what it's like, blah, blah, blah," I'll go, "I might not know about your life, Malcolm, but it's worked for me for a year, so therefore it works." And right now, this is the hardest time to probably run your own business, because fuel prices, energy prices are at an all-time high. And the redundancies as high as it's ever going to get, and we're in a massive financial situation where if the news comes out with, "Oh, we're pretty much bankrupt or we're having a financial crisis," it's not going to surprise anyone. No one's going to go, "Oh, I never saw that coming," because it is here.
It's coming. Yeah,
it's right here. It's just no one's officially given it a name. And when it goes credit crunch 0.2.0 or whatever they want to call it, we're all going to go, "Yep, that's fine." The news, it's their choice whether they want to put the fear into everyone. I think it's best if they really don't. I think it's best we all know it's here, but we just all persevere through it together, because we've had enough rubbish with the C word, with everything going on, and I feel like we're aware it's not great, but we're finding options about it. You know, I think I watched Rummy's channel the other day, and he's bought a storage locker, like a shipping locker, rather than a storage unit. And he said, "If I was you guys, I'd be thinking about getting a shipping locker, because there's no gas or electric
as well."
So
it's
a prime example of, they're talking about future-proofing themselves, because gas and electric is going to go up. So this is a perfect idea for their business. And both of them, Dave and Rummage, when they're talking about it, they're talking about real good advice there. If you have a flat, you don't have a storage, and coming back about what we said before, it all depends on your lifestyle and how it all works. You know, I'm very lucky that my wife's very relaxed about me taking up rooms after room. That's fine. But as I said, some people sadly haven't got space, you know. And it's very important that you run it to kind of suit you. I suppose our next question, if you want to lead off with this one, Richard, which we're kind of talking about anyway, but number 7.
Right. So how has this year gone on eBay regarding your targets and goals?
Yeah, so I made, and this is honest advice, I made the biggest mistake of the first year on eBay was during the lockdown year. I think it was lockdown 2. And actually my first year on eBay was really successful and I'd done really well. So when it got to December, I started planning, because I like to set myself some personal goals for the following year. And I said, right, I want a 20% increase on last year. But in my naivety, I didn't think to myself, well, actually, you had part of lockdown. So is that going to play an effect? You know, things are going back to normal now. And so actually this year is probably at the moment about 15% down on where it was last year. So I am behind my goals, but I kind of set myself a target to make £3,000 profit every month at least. That's kind of where I like to put myself. And there's been some months this year where I've done sort of £3,500 profit. There's been other months where it's been £2,000. But I think with eBay now, instead of looking at it on a day-to-day basis, I try and look on it sort of month to month and then compare it to last year. But last year is a bit false for me. So I think next year is going to be easier for me to set new targets and goals, because this feels like the first year, which is real. I think last year for a lot of people was a bit skewed, because some people had a really good year last year and are kind of saying now, why have my numbers dropped? But you've got to remember as well, eBay fees always creep up as well. Postage has gone up. So you need to take all of that into account. So I was a bit naive with setting the goals, but I try and sort of set it for £3,000 a month profit minimum is what I kind of look to do.
I think as well, a lot of people that have got into reselling in the last couple of years is they got carried away because the first lockdown was absolutely mental. eBay was just, it was up there, and it's over the time it's been going down, 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 down. You know, I had some incredible, you know, I used to use Facebook Marketplace all the time to pick it up. It was incredible. It was incredible. You know, that's why I took on a storage unit. You know, the stuff I was picking up for little money or free. Now everybody's cottoned onto it. Facebook Marketplace, you go on there, and it's like the charity shops now. It's ridiculous prices. It's prices that you would get on eBay if you sold it. So I think people saw that in the first lockdown, and a lot of people did get made furloughed or lost their jobs or whatever. Got onto the reselling thing. Thought, wow, this is amazing. You know, I was selling my own bits and pieces to start with, and obviously I've done the film props and that since 2003 anyway with my brother, and we've done it on our own as well. But like, I think from my experience and watching what Facebook's been doing and the pickups and the source ways you could source and the way the charity shops has gone up, I think that's a lot of it, as people have sort of done their goals on what was back then, and like it's never going to be like that again. It's not, you're not going to get that again.
Yeah, and I made the mistake of even like do you remember the Nintendo Wii's during the first lockdown?
James was picking them up like there was
I was doing the same, picking up Wii bundles for like £5 or £10, and I was selling them at the moment I clicked list. They were selling literally instantly for £100. And easy. In the space of I think a month and a half or 2 months, I probably sold about 30 Wii bundles, which you know, £100 a go, you make some good money. But then when I come onto this year and I start looking at my numbers and saying, well, how come that month I done really well and the year later I've not done as well? Well, that plays a part, because you're not selling Wii's at £100 a pop anymore. So massively. You need to kind of look at it year by year, and also the market changes with things constantly as well. And in a way, it does depend on what you pick up. You might pick up something at the car boot what's going to make you £400 profit tomorrow, but in a year's time, you might only pick up something that's going to make you £20 profit. So you need to kind of look at it that way. But yeah, I kind of set it as a sort of straight £3,000 profit a month is good for me. Anything more is an absolute bonus, but £3,000 means I can pay the bills and I can invest some money into eBay as well. So that's kind of my line of where I need to get to.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. The thing is, mate, and it's nice you said that. I reckon there's a couple of people right now who've just listened to that statement and gone, probably just had a little bit of reflection there, whether they're full-time, part-time, whatever, and they've probably gone, that's the first time they've heard that advice, so they've gone, yeah, that probably explains why my figures look red on the dashboard. But as long as you are, you know, buying and selling what you're picking up, and then only you can go, it's not enough, or I need to do more, or you're constantly going to learn how to improve. But yeah, I kind of, when I went full time in January, I think I still had that COVID potential mindset in my head, and I was like, this reselling is going to be so easy. I was like, all I'm going to have to do is like the same amount of effort and maybe just about half. If I did double, whoa, I'm going to have a Ferrari out front. Easy. I'm going to be transparent. I'm probably working 4 times harder than I did in COVID. I'm probably just making the same.
Yeah.
And that's the real reality, because, and people go, well, you're wrong. And I'm like, no, I'm right. Because when people didn't go out, they weren't buying holidays. People actually do enjoy shopping. It sounds daft, but some people would rather pay more in Tesco's and have that experience of physically looking at it and holding it and choosing their car for Timmy, or especially elderly people as well. You know, they had no other option but to buy presents online. But they actually enjoyed going out because that's one of their only social interactions. And they want to talk to the cashier, and they want to talk to Malcolm, who's going to help them get the stuff for the grandkids, because that's their interaction. So eBay has massively gone down. And do you put your head in the sand, which I know some people have done? Not wrong with that, by the way. That's life, and we move on. Or do you go, right, it's a hell of a lot harder than I expected, but I want to do this. And I think you cracked onto it before, and I really appreciate you bringing up the mental health, James, because I think all of us massively had an impact through COVID, whether it was a small amount, but we were all aware of it big time. And I would agree. To say the word hate is a powerful word. It's a word I never like to put towards anybody. I don't really hate anything, but I think I was almost to the word of hating my job when I was in an office. And the issue is when I did lockdown and I worked from home and I did my job, I loved it.
Yeah.
It wasn't the job I hated. It's the office I hate. It's the environment. It's the pressure. It's you're in a box, sit there until 2 hours and then you can move. And it's almost like I've become a prisoner.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work for my mental health and work for me. So I will gladly work 4 times, 5 times, 6 times as hard and continuously do this job, because I'm not doing this job for money. I'm doing this job for my mental well-being. And I'm so much healthier and happier as a person. Like if you go and watch when I first came on Richard's lives, I'm sure the person who's talking now to the person that was there, obviously I'm further on as a dad, so I've matured a lot more, because you have to mature being a parent. You have no other option. Sometimes. Don't get me wrong. I was tackling the kids in the playground this morning with a football. That was the best. Sod all them 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds. I'm number one. But the reality is that there's more to this job than the money, and to me it's the mental security, knowing that I don't have that pressure of I don't want to go into work on Monday. The disadvantage is I work 7 days a week, 24 hours, and I can never truly switch off. But I'll take that compromise. For the fact is that I don't have that fear and that horrible gut feeling, and that for me it was the horrible thing when they went, we've got your performance review. What the freaking hell's a performance review? What's
every day fearing is the day I'm going to get sacked. It's the day I'm going to walk into the office today and they're going to say, do you know what, it's not working, we're going to give you the sack. Basically, you haven't got that when you can only sack yourself as your own boss. And I've done it a few times where I've been crap and I've said, right, you need to sort your stuff out, otherwise you're not going to have an eBay business. You're going to be back stuck in an office being told what to do, earning money for someone else and getting paid a salary to do so. And then it kind of makes you click out of that and think, do you know what, this is why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I'm a boss and I want to build something.
100%. And I'm I've sort of got that in my head now, because mine was like a triple threat. I got made furloughed on the 1st of April when they first started furloughing people. And I thought it was a joke because it was on April Fool's Day. And I'm thinking, is he joking?
Yeah.
A week after that, after being on furlough, I found out my brother had cancer. So then I started thinking, like, my boss said, oh, look, you're going to get 80% of your wages if you go on furlough. I'll try and top it up with the other 20%. Never happened. So I thought, right, 80% of my money is no good, And the way it was a triple threat was, I got made furloughed, found out my brother had cancer, but I did not like the job. I was on a forklift 12 to 14 hours a day some days. Rain, snow, shine, whatever it was. So obviously, but it was a job. But I got called back about 7 or 8 weeks after I was furloughed, I think. But obviously, I'd already found out my brother was ill. I went back. I said, look, my brother's ill. And I just thought part of it was that. And I thought I'd rather spend as much time as I can with him. The job's doing me nothing anyway. So I handed 2 weeks' notice in. The boss went, oh, I'm a bit, what was it? I'm a bit annoyed because I've kept your job open for you. I said, no, you haven't. The government has.
The government's done that, yeah.
You haven't kept my job open for me at all. The government's kept my job open for me. I said, you said you was going to top it up by the other 20%, so I got full wages. You ain't done that. No. You haven't. You've done nothing. All you're doing is saying I can come back to work now. You know, so I handed 2 weeks' notice in, and that was it. But like what James says, you know, I wasn't in an office. I was in a yard or in the warehouse or whatever. But like, it was the worst thing. Every morning I'd get like this sick feeling in my stomach. Oh, I've got to go to work and I'm not enjoying it. I hate it. Or if you look out the window and it's absolutely teeming it down with rain or like the snow, and you're thinking, I've got to sit on a forklift all day, loading and unloading lorries, blah, blah, blah. And it is. And that's the only thing that, you know, now that's, well, one of the only things that now is always in my head, that I don't want to go back to that. You know, since I've been doing a bit of driving from, but actually that's gone out the window the last sort of week or two. I've had minimal hours, and for what they're giving me, I'm not even bothered taking it anymore. But that's for me. Obviously, I went back to catch up, and that's why I went back, because I haven't worked for so long. It's to catch up and try and get a bit ahead of myself. So I did the driving. But say now for me, it's when I went back, they offered me a full-time job back in the warehouse and on the forklift. They've offered me a full-time driving job, and I've said no to both of them because I want to do eBay. You know what you want to do. Going back, I don't want to be a forklift driver. I don't want to be a warehouseman. I don't want to be a full-time van driver. I want to be a full-time eBayer again. That's and it's that's keeping me going and keeping my brain in the fact that we've got to sort this out here. We've got to get proper grafting. I say the last week I've been on my back with chest infection and asthma, but 100% I get where James is coming from, because like whether it's in an office or whether it's in a forklift, doesn't matter. If you're not enjoying it, it's going to get to you.
You're in the wrong place.
It's
Absolutely,
get you
100%.
Definitely. Right. So where are we now? Do you want to do number? Yeah, I did 7. So do you want to do 8?
Yeah, definitely. So I think we'll probably do one more after, and then we'll hopefully ask James if he'd like to come on again, because we've obviously got an endless list of questions we want to ask, and it's the same with most people that come on. You know, we want to. If you're listening to it, you know, we don't try and rush through questions just because I've got 100 questions. It's not what we're about.
And go off on tangents and
of course, it's so important, and it's about being real with each other, and that's what I've really enjoyed. So just thank you, by the way. So you mentioned this earlier, and it's something that definitely drew me towards you initially before I even knew you, because I was subscribed to part of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you the question, and then I'm going to say what I've done and why I've not done it, but I'd be interested for you to kind of tell us. So the question is, you are part of the Daily Refinement group, and I want to kind of know, what have you found the benefits of being in that group are, and what benefits have you got being a UK reseller? Because predominantly, let's be honest, 90% of most of their knowledge is obviously American based. So how have you found that as a benefit being in the group? Now, I joined their podcast. I was part of the Patreon, just the podcast alone. And I absolutely would recommend, if you're a reseller and you're wanting something in your ears to listen to whilst you're listening, that's going to spur you on instead of watching rubbish resellers like me. But honestly, if you want to listen to some serious good stuff, the tech and sport, is just phenomenal. Like, Tech is a phenomenal person to listen to, and obviously, is it Lee? It just Daily Refinement.
Chris.
Is it Lee?
Chris.
Lynn.
Yeah.
No, that's where the Lee comes from. So Chris and Tech are just amazing, and they pretty much, it sounds daft, but every podcast is pretty much the same. It's weird to say that, but it is the same podcast. It's just the same podcast over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But it's very important you keep listening to that same podcast, because the messages, even though the core doesn't change, the whole show changes, and they do get guests on, they get different people on, they talk about where they are, and it's very important to kind of listen to how eBay's constantly changing. Because if we're all of a sudden, if you put it this way, if we're all like, oh my Lord, they've just brought out vouchers, how good are that? They were already talking about vouchers a year ago. That's how much, and I really enjoyed listening to their podcast for it. And for me, that's all I needed to get out of that. I didn't need to be part of a group for anything else. I didn't feel like I could get more from it. And I'm sure I could. But that was where I stood on it. So my question for you really is that you are part of the full group. You're part of the lives. You're part of everything. How has that helped your business? Would you recommend people to go to it, and why? And yeah, you understood where I am. So Richard's not part of it at all. I'm part of the podcast. So yeah, tell us, sell it to us, but also tell us how it's benefited your business.
Yeah. And I'll give you the honest overview, because I'm not paid by them guys to promote it. I talk about it a lot on my YouTube videos, because that's a transparency. That is the fact. I'm in the group. I've learned a lot from them. So I started like you, James. I listened to the podcast with Chris on YouTube, and used to get half an hour snippet. And then they would kind of say, sign up to our Patreon to get the full hour of the podcasts. And I skipped straight to what it was. I was watching a Wednesday live once, and I saw someone called Tom, who's not in the group anymore, but he was talking on one of the Wednesday lives Chris does. And he's from the UK. And I thought, oh, it's all American people. What's this UK person doing in there? So when I reached out to him and said, what's it like for UK people? And he was like, it's good. It's a really good group. You learn a lot. So I took the plunge and joined. And I thought, you get a month where you can trial it. And if you don't get any value, or you don't make more money than you did the month before, they'll give you a refund. And it's £35 a month. So it works out effectively just over £1 a day. But what you get from that is a lot more than you would expect. So they have a 24-hour Zoom room. And so in that Zoom room, you've got a mixture of UK people, Australian people, American people, French people. You get a whole mixture in there. And it's quite funny. So you log into the Zoom room at different times, you get different people. So normally from around 8 in the morning until lunchtime is the UK people. And then after lunchtime, the American people start waking up. And if you go in there in the evening, it's mainly American people. And you've got the Australian people who sort of dipping out as well. But what I like about it is you get 9 hours sometimes on a Tuesday with Tech, where you can ask him any questions you'd like to ask him. And he is someone who doesn't just sell on eBay. They talk business. He owns another 5 or 6 businesses outside of eBay. And he started on eBay with just $20, and he built all the businesses off that $20 from selling on eBay, building that. He now owns a tree surgeon business. He has his brick and mortar store. So he's a multi-million-pound person who you get exclusivity to him on a Tuesday live call. And some of them lives go on for 9 hours. And yeah, I don't ever stay on there because it starts at midnight in the UK time. But you can ask him questions beforehand on Facebook that he will answer on his live and stuff as well. So you get that aspect. But the reason I joined is for the community sense. I went from working in a company with 400 people. And as head of recruitment, I was constantly interacting with people day to day. Now, sometimes, especially before I started YouTube, I'm in this shed for 8, 9, sometimes 10 hours a day, just in my own headspace. Just James talking to James, doing stuff. You can text people, you can WhatsApp people. But the reason I like joining is I just go in a Zoom call, and sometimes my camera's off, sometimes it's on, I'm just working away. And even just to pause for 5 minutes and have a chat about reselling and have a chat about other things and get back to work has really benefited me. But I have learned so much from being in that group. I mean, buyer groups, for instance. Tech was talking about buyer groups. He found a way to start sending out coupons to your different buyer groups, probably about 6 months before eBay made that live to everyone. So in the group, we were ahead of the curve, sending coupons out to our previous buyers in the buyer groups before eBay made the official announcement. So it's always a case of you learn things sometimes weeks before everyone else learns it. But they do lots of calls. So now there's a UK call. So we've got a UK call today at 1 o'clock. Sahir, who only calls stuff, he runs that UK call. And we have normally now, I think there's only about 15, 20 people in there, but everyone's business minded. And that's what's nice. It's not questions such as what do I do if a buyer sends back an item and it's a false return case. It's more a case of how we're going to grow our businesses, what plans we have for Q4, what plans we have for the future. But there's loads of calls. Mel, back from Burnout, does the Australia call. We've got the UK call. They've just started a YouTube call. And funny, because Chris is meant to run the YouTube call, but he's always busy when the YouTube call comes up. So the last 2 weeks, he started it and said, right, James, you're hosting the call. And I'm sitting there like, I don't know YouTube. But again, it's just the interaction, talking about YouTube ideas. So yeah, the group is growing rapidly. And for me, paying £1 a day is so worth it. Just to have that community, just to be able to talk to people, just to be able to sometimes get that motivation and create a listing habit in the group as well. But yeah, I don't get paid to promote it. I say to anyone, if you're tempted to join for a month. And if it's for you, great. If it's not you, leave the group, get your refund, and you haven't lost anything. But the amount of people who join and stay is incredible. And yeah, it's open advice to anything reselling from some really good people. But I also know on the flip side, I've seen a lot of things where people are negative behind it. You know, why are these people charging people money to get information? Information is free. Why are they not sharing it for free? And I completely understand that. But I gain a lot for £1 a day.
But not being funny, it's there's time as well. They're charging for their time. Do you know what I mean? If they're not,
do you pay for a gym? I suppose, do you pay for a gym membership? That would, and that's I personally understand completely why I would want it, and I think what you, it was good what you just said, because it's exactly why I wanted to join. Yeah. Benefit I have is that when Richard eventually pulls his hand out of his area, yeah, it's more than a finger now. He's got his whole hand up there. But when he's on it, I'm very fortunate. I've got a close knit that I can chat to him. We'll just put our earphones on and we'll list together. We'll talk to each other. We'll motivate each other. We'll even sing random songs in the middle of the room. It doesn't really matter. So I've kind of got that paid subscription with my friend. And I've got a couple of other people I catch up with throughout the day that are resellers on WhatsApp, because I've come off Instagram. I've said, look, if someone really wants my number and I'll chat to you daily, whatever. Yeah. And you know, I chat to Sean Abercrombie a lot. I've just got James Tonks just messaging me on WhatsApp whilst we're doing this. I've got Dave Resells as well. I've got a couple of people that I just chat to on a daily, keep up to date with them. They keep up to date with me. So we'll all keep each other online. But I love the podcast. And I'd say paying for that podcast alone, the information I've learned just on the podcast alone is amazing. And it's also a bit like listening to gym music. It's very motivational because, I agree. Tech just having a business to bring out that reseller ruler, because he created the reseller ruler. That's his business, and people don't even realize. Like, that business alone is unbelievable.
He's very transparent about, you know, he sells a couple of thousand of them a month. Yeah. And they don't cost him anything to make, hardly anything to make. And he can literally give up eBay, he can give up all his businesses and just do the ruler.
Yeah, of course,
and still make thousands of pounds. But he's I don't know if you ever saw it, but if you haven't, listened to the podcast with him and Mel, because Mel done a podcast.
Yeah, I've.
It's amazing. But he's so direct. He'll tell you how it is. He knows a lot of stuff, but actually just listening to him, and sometimes I'll put in a call, because they film on a Tuesday night at midnight UK. So most of the time I'm not on there because it's far too late for me. But on a Wednesday, like today, I would just have it on in the background while working. So like you, when you talk about motivation, just listening to the guys talk and people ask questions and stuff. Most of the things don't apply to your business necessarily, but just hearing like-minded people talk business, for me, that's what I love listening to, because it 100%. Helps me grow as well. So yeah, as I say, I'm not promoting the group. I say to people, make your own choice on that. I'll never say to people, you need to join, because for some people they love it, for some people they don't, and that's not everything. Definitely. But I can't ever see myself coming out of the group, because I'm learning constantly. And as I say, I spend more money on a Costa coffee on a daily basis than I do.
Of course.
So it works for some, it doesn't work for others. But I'll never go openly and say you have to join unless they started, paying me some of the money they're getting for people signing up. So
the only thing I would say to anyone listening to this right now, and whether you're currently a full-time reseller, a part-time reseller as well, and something James will back me up on, if you're going to do it, you want to kind of do it this year or next year, because I don't think in 2 years Tech's going to be around anymore. I think he's got 2 years, and then I think it's retirement. I think it's 2 years, and then he's knocking it on the head, and then that's it. He'll just retire.
He keeps hinting every time he does his Tuesday Live, especially. He goes, you know, a couple of years I'm out, and people are like, no, you won't, Tech. You're not going anywhere.
He is.
He will get to the point of saying, I don't need to do it. He's got people who work for him. He could effectively get people to run his eBay business, and he can go and sit on the beach in Barbados and live the best life. He could today. And yeah, I think you're right. If you're going to join, now is the prime time to join, because you can seek advice from him. And actually, I think I've asked Tech 2 questions in the whole time being in the group. And one of them is about a jersey I bought from America when I went there. And I said to him, I can't find this anywhere. And before I'd even asked the question, I was holding it up and I didn't realize my camera's on. And I got to him and he went, oh, is it this jersey? Here we are. And he found the listing straight away. And he said, I would list it at this price. And that for me would have took me hours and hours and hours of searching. And to get that instant advice, I think Joe has paid for it. But also what he does, and I know it sounds like I'm probably promoting it so much, he's done a deep dive into hats and caps that you can find in not just America, but in the UK. And someone watched that video, went to a thrift store in America, bought a cap for £1 and sold it for £2,000. And so that's paid for them for near enough a lifetime subscription for the group.
Yeah, 100%.
So you get little nuggets. But yeah, I would say to anyone, the podcast is a great place to start. So listen to that on YouTube, even a half an hour snippet, and then trial it for a month. And if you don't like it, get your money back and you've trialed it. But the UK call's been a real benefit as well for us guys, because we have that dedicated hour now where no one else from America chimes in. They understand that that's our UK hour, and that's for us to speak to see, get some advice, but also chat between us and find out how the business is going for everyone, you know?
Mm. How many, just says 14 of you, did you say, that go on that call?
In the UK call, it's growing. I think last week there was about 20 odd, but we had a couple new people post on Facebook that they've joined the group last week. So there's a lot more UK people in the group, but not everyone can make the time. So they'll watch it on the replay call. So all the calls are recorded as well. So in case you can't watch it, you can just watch the replay. But that is growing. I think when we first started UK call 5 weeks ago, I think there was only 4 of us on there. But now it's grown and grown and growing. But I jump on the Australia call just to listen to them guys, and I don't really say much on it, but I like just listening to how they run their business and stuff. So it's really interesting.
That's awesome.
And it works for you. That's the thing. I mean, I've never, because of my situation, I've never even looked into it. You know, if I'm in a different position and I've got my listings going on every day and I've got my draft bank building up and I haven't got any crap around that I've got to sort out, you know, and I'm literally going and buying stuff, bringing it back, listing it, getting it on. If I'm in a different position where I'm not always trying to catch myself up, you know, it might be something that I might look into, you know, because like you say, you can try it for a month. If you don't like it, you can cancel it and get your money back. So
yeah, I'd recommend it to anyone to trial it at some point. I mean, that's what I done. I trialed it for a month and I thought, you know what, this works for me. But like you said, and like we've spoke about the whole podcast, it might work for me. It might not work for anyone else. But I find for what I need and what I gain out of it, it's worth me paying that pound a day. And I always think to myself, as long as I sell something, it's paid for me to go in the group. Or as I say, I've got a gym membership and I've been probably 5 or maybe 6 times this month, and that's costing me £50 a month. And so I think to myself, actually, invest in yourself, invest in your business, and only do it if you're going to get something out of it. There's no point.
100%. Yeah, don't just do. Yeah.
And just sign up for the sake of saying I'm in it.
Yeah, 100%. And what I would say as well, whereabouts I am, because I'm never going to say no to not joining the group. Just at the moment, it just doesn't quite balance right. But I would say you hit the nail on the head. Listen to Chris and Tex, all their stuff for at least a good 40 minutes long. I actually think a couple of the initial ones, they didn't actually do it unpaid as well. But you can actually listen to their calls. Go and listen to them in COVID and go and listen to them as they change. But it's really worth listening to them on YouTube, because you can hear how the businesses are, and they talk about the summer slowdown. They talk about how each month is different for different sellers, and also it's just reassuring as well that you're not just alone, that there's other people that are thinking these things as well. And obviously, you know, we're not here just to promote them, but I'm an advocate of them. I always will be. I also think, again, what I did wrong with Chris. I think I listened to him and I was like, yeah, I'll do it Chris's way. I'm going to just sell clothes. And it just didn't work this year for me. And it was a learning curve that I've learned, which is that to listen to people, but just listen and then adapt it your own style. Now I've learned that actually I'm probably about a 50-50 seller. I like doing 50% close because I've got the security there, because I can buy it all year round. But actually the real earners for me is the hard goods. And in the UK, sadly, we don't have big enough boot sales as it currently stands, especially where I live in the north of England. There isn't enough boot sales just for clothing to make it feasible full-time. Part-time, definitely. But for a full-time income, it's much more easy to be an everything seller as it currently stands at the moment. But it's not going to stop you from selling one item. It's just you're going to have to go down a different route.
Yeah, James, spot on. It's different markets, and sometimes when you're in the group, you need to kind of take that step back. You know, they've got all of these thrift stores. They have yard sales, they call them, which are 3 or 4 times a week, every week. They've got these Goodwill bins where they go to, and it's just a rummage through some massive bins where they can, there's a few shoe sellers in there who are listing 30 to 40 pairs of shoes a day, but they're being able to get that stock. Now, can I go to the car boot sale on a Saturday and Sunday and get 400 pairs of shoes to list for the week? That's not possible. No. So you need to kind of take a step back to say it might work for them in America. That's not how it would work in the UK. And that's why the UK calls really good, because we kind of focus in to what we do compared to what everyone else does. But I've made loads of good friends from America who call me on Messenger and have a chat with me for about an hour. And I've got an accountability partner now from America who, by the time he comes on, all my listings should be up. And then he'll call me at the end of the day to say, this is the challenges I've had. So you build that community as well. And I need that sometimes to be able to have a chat with like-minded business people, But yeah, it's been a real benefit for me. But as I say, it works for me. It might not work for you. So I'm not advocating it. I'm not telling people to join. But if you do want more information, drop me a message on Instagram, whatever it may be. And I'm happy to give you honest opinion, whether it's right.
I'm going to stick everyone's socials in the description anyway. So you'll find that in there. What we're going to do is, on the last question, I'm going to save the questions we've got and we'll rejig them, because hopefully you'll come on again.
Absolutely. It's been really good chatting, you guys.
There's so much more that we could ask you. But I'm not going to ask anything else that's on there. The last thing I'm going to ask you is, what 3 tips would you give someone that wants to get into eBay reselling? What were the first 3 tips that you would give them?
Okay, so I would say my first tip is start with selling things you own already. So I'm sure I can probably go inside now and pick up 10 items that I probably haven't picked up in the last year that end up in your junk cupboards. I know I've got 2 Now TV boxes sitting in the lounge that I haven't used. So I could easily go and pick them and list them. So I would say start off with listing stuff you have at home and take your time to learn eBay as a platform. Learn about how much postage costs, learn about how much items weigh, because the mistakes I made when I started, sold an item, might have charged £2 postage and realised it's going to cost me £8 to post. So there's all your profit. So yeah, start with items you own at home. My biggest advice, I was saying, probably the second tip, is learn from YouTube, because that's where I started. So just type in eBay Seller UK or Car Boot Sale UK, and just watch what people pick up, watch what people do, watch the mistakes that we've all made, and learn from that as well. But my most important tip is just make the mistakes, because I go out to car boot sales, and even now, I'll pick something at a car boot sale, I'll be like, I think that was a good pickup. Get home and realise, oh my God, why did I not notice it's actually smashed to bits? Or this part's missing, and actually I'm going to struggle to make my money back. So make your own mistakes. But yeah, I started the journey on eBay watching YouTube. And it's so powerful, and there is so much free information out there. So I know we just spoke about joining a group. I wouldn't join that group until you get to a certain level on eBay where you're comfortable with the basics of eBay, at least. But you need to make mistakes and just go for it. Really, that's the truth of the matter. But yeah, I would say sell your own items first, because then you can keep it a personal account. You don't have to worry about the business account. So I would do it that way first of all.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the main tip that most people come up with. It was when I got asked, it was the same. I said exactly the same thing. Sell stuff that you've got around you that you've walked past a million times and you don't even look at it anymore. if my wife had her way, she'd chuck it in a box and give it to charity shop. You know, stick it on eBay, see if it sells. If it don't sell, then you can give it away to charity. But that's, you know, 3 good tips there. This has been amazing. I want to thank you, James, and I want to thank you, James. It's getting confused now, so thanks, James. James. Yeah, it's been a really good podcast. Really enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it. Coming on.
I have, yeah. I said I really appreciate coming on with you guys. Yeah, 100%. It's really nice to speak to other people. You know, when I do my lives, it's good because you find out about them, but it's actually nice for people to put me on the hot seat and quiz me about the journey. And I love speaking about it because I'm so passionate about, you know, where I've got to personally. I'm proud of where I've got to, but, you know, it's sort of forward thinking from here of where I could get to. That's where I am.
Yeah. So, and the nice thing about this is, like I say, we get stuff out of people that you wouldn't, you know, maybe say or tell people on your videos or on your lives. You know, we sort of we managed to get we managed to get.
It didn't take long. I think the first 5 minutes you've got to
exactly. But that's what we like. We like to get to know you. We also like to other people to get to know you. Do you know what I mean? So I want to say thanks for coming on.
Thank you, definitely.
Thanks for giving up your time. You know, we've all got stuff to do. Well, most of us. I'm pug sitting at the minute, so I've got to go and look after an annoying little pug at the minute. And finish packing my items. That's what I've got on this afternoon. What you lads got on this afternoon? You've got your thing at 1 o'clock, James.
Yeah, same. I've got to pack a few items. I've got to work through this death pile and stuff and get things listed. I've got my listings up. I try and stick to sort of 10 listings a day and then do drafts from there. So I've got my 10 up already.
You two I'm just showing me up to no end.
James, I'm just going to camp in the shed all day, basically, and
I'm going to change my name by default to James. Maybe I'll start listening.
That's what you need to do.
Then and,
maybe, yeah. It does help. It does help. It opens doors. Doors get opened. Doors get opened.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's probably what I'll do then. I'll change my name to James. But no, thanks to you guys. Thanks to anybody that's listening to this or watching this. Appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I say, all the links to socials and that will be in the description. Even James's JR Reselling's.
I pop on it every 2 weeks anyway, just because.
Go on.
I've had a few people on Instagram message me asking if I'm alive. I've even had people saying, "Do I still resell?" Honestly, I've had people saying, "Do I still resell?" But the reality is that, you know, if you listen to this podcast, that I am there. It's just that sometimes you've got to shift with what's right for you. And the last thing I want to do is have a distraction that means I have to go back to that call center. So for me, it's the right time, but I'm never saying never. And I love social media for what it is. But for now, the business is what's paying for everything. And I want to grow. And next year is going to be an interesting challenge as well. But hopefully we'll get you on before next year. And what would be nice with the podcast is I'd like to get a couple of people on early doors and we'll talk about goals and then catch up with everyone at the back end of the year and then see how we've all got on type of thing.
Yeah. No,
well, we're going to be doing a big Christmas thing again this year and we're doing a Halloween thing. So, you know, it would be nice to get quite a few of you guys on the Christmas one and just have a catch up. Do you know what I mean? Just have a drink together, just catch up, see how things have gone. Eat
chocolate, eat lots of chocolate.
We're going to have our Santa on. We've got our own Santa, so we're going to have him on. So yeah, hopefully you'll come back for that as well. But I want to say thanks to everybody. I think it's a good place to finish now, and enjoy the podcast, everybody. Well, if you got to this bit, you would have either enjoyed it or not, but. If you have, let us know that you've enjoyed it in the comments. If you've got any questions for any of us, like I say, our socials are going to be in the description box, or just leave a comment with a question and we'll get back to you on it.
Next year.
Next year. We'll get back to you next year.
JR's next year, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, all I've got to say is see you later.
See you later, guys.